Hello, everyone. Welcome to Waxy Wednesdays with Wax Romantics. This is part two of the podcast that Cam, Julian, and myself did without Keaton because he was on tour with the Velveteers. We split our conversation in half and putting it out in two separate parts. So what you're about to listen to is part two of that conversation. In case you didn't hear the first part, why don't you go back and listen to part one, because we're going to jump in right where we left off. As a reminder, where we did leave off is we were talking about fashion in the 90s, specifically in 90s bands. And, we were talking about bands that had good fashion, mentioned Oasis and kind of grunge bands following kind of different fashion trends in the 90s where they were wearing just normal street clothes. But anyways, so we're going to jump right into where we left off with that conversation. Cam's going to bring up a point about Weezer and the way they dressed, and then we're just going to continue on with the conversation. So I hope you enjoy it. We'll have more episodes out with all four of us probably here soon. And till then, enjoy this. Thanks for listening. We love you. Bye.
Waxy Wednesdays with Wax Romantics.
Fucking Weezer was the king of that. Pulling up in your flannel and jeans.
Yeah, t-shirt and shit.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not the biggest Weezer guy, but I do love the Blue album deeply.
Mhm.
And the cover of that album, they're fucking wearing like pajamas, basically.
Yeah. And that's most of their headlining and shit. They were just wearing whatever, which is
yeah, they
cool,
get like progressively weirder and it's
Yeah.
fun. And I think they kind of like make it into a joke. But the first album is really just like, hey, this is what's up. This is us.
This is us. Natural. Pretty cool.
Weezer would be a good thing to do a deep dive on one of these episodes because I was hugely into the Blue album growing up, and just like a couple of years ago was like I should listen to Pinkerton and like try to figure out what all that was about. And I gotta say, I know now like the trend was obviously like at the time everyone hated Pinkerton and now everyone loves Pinkerton, but I as much as I tried, I don't love Pinkerton.
I like a lot of songs on Pinkerton, but like it's not as good as the Blue album. And also like a little more scatterbrained. Like I think what people oftentimes call like experimentation can also be attributed to just like being a little confused about what you want to sound like. I think that's what I get from Pinkerton is like they were transitioning into like some stuff. But there's like individual songs on it that fucking slap. Like
yeah, for sure.
Whatever the second track on the record is.
Yeah,
Oh, and El Scorcho slaps.
Yeah, El Scorcho. That's what it is.
Yeah. Get You, Why Bother? Yeah. It's okay. It's like, should it be critically acclaimed as like Weezer's like most best introverted, like introspective album? I don't think it should be. But like as far as like a landmark transitional piece, it's pretty good.
This episode's all over the place and I love it. I'm gonna bring it to the next super random thing, but it just made me think, talking about things that are beloved in like, or beloved cult things or beloved in like indie communities that I personally can't vibe with. Do you guys like the director David Lynch?
Yes, I do.
Ooh, okay. Here's a good time to get something off my chest again. Maybe surprising. Both my like closest friends are like obsessed with Twin Peaks, and I've never watched it. Like never. And I don't think I want to. That's the thing. I've heard all the hype. I've heard all the talk. I've like seen all the individual little cuts of it, and like I just don't think I want to watch it. I don't think it's for me.
Honestly, man, I think you're better off not watching it and having that rose-colored view through other people that makes sense of what they think of it, and kind of just having it vaguely in the back of your head as a indie masterpiece.
Yeah, that's like I know it's an indie masterpiece. I know like David Lynch's directing style. I know about his music. Like I know about the actors. I've never seen the show, but like yeah, I guess I don't really have to because yeah, I know all that stuff about it.
Yeah. No, and I think that's a great place to leave it and don't go any deeper. Cam, you said you do like David Lynch. Elaborate.
I haven't seen much of his work because a lot of it is the indie underground kind of stuff that doesn't just get, I don't know. There's other indie projects you could watch that I would far outweigh to David Lynch. But when you said David Lynch, what came to mind first was he was the original person to bring Dune to the big screen. And that sparked Dune was a huge fundamental piece in creating the sci-fi world and movies that everyone loves today. Almost every sci-fi director.
Sorry to interrupt you. David Lynch considers Dune to be the only failure of his career.
Oh, it totally was. The original, I think it was 85 or 6 or 84 or something like that was when Dune came out by Lynch.
84
it was shit. That movie sucks. The new Dune is a lot better in my opinion. But most sci-fi directors nowadays would attribute their success to David Lynch because he totally opened the world to the sci-fi thing and like got that curiosity sparked because there wasn't many mainstream sci-fi projects before Dune. There was Star Wars, obviously, but Dune kind of opened the world to like we can experiment with like all this different weird kind of shit and still pass through. And so Star Wars and David Lynch's Dune were really what opened up the world to like beautiful sci-fi projects. So that's kind of why I appreciate Lynch and his work.
That's a good view to have on it. I only brought this up because I've always, like if someone saw me on the street and asked if I like David Lynch, I'd say yeah. But I just rewatched Mulholland Drive. I hadn't seen it in a long time. And I think
I like that one too.
I was probably too young to appreciate the movie it was. But it kind of brought out feelings again that I have often about David Lynch where, and this might sound like a naive or stupid take on it, but what I struggle with is I think he's often just weird to be weird and there's not meaning behind it. He is very good, don't get me wrong, at like striking and disturbing imagery and it brings up something like visceral in you. But it's like, come on, man, you're just being weird and avant-garde for the sake of it. And maybe why I'm saying that is because David Lynch was so influential and influenced so many people to do that same type of thing. So it feels like something I've seen before, but I've only seen it before because David Lynch did it first. And because I'm the age I am, I can't appreciate the originality of it. But like Mulholland Drive, I feel that way often. Eraserhead, which was one of his first films, maybe his first film.
That was his breakout. I don't know if it was his first, but it was his breakout.
Yeah, his breakout. Eraserhead, I got like angry halfway through. I was like, this is just fucking weird for the sake of it. Don't get me wrong. It is very weird and it makes you feel strange in a way that a lot of other movies can't. And so anyways, I was just curious. Oh, like I said, ultimately, yes, I'm a David Lynch fan. I like all of that stuff, but it's something I struggled with after watching Mulholland Drive.
Yeah, I think that both things that you said make a lot of sense. Like, I can't relate to it with David Lynch as much, but with like music, I think I get turned off by musicians who are just weird because being weird is weird. But at the same time,
like Captain Beefheart. David Lynch is the Captain Beefheart of films.
Yeah, but the respect that you have to pay there is that he did, I guess, in a way, do it first. So even though it might be contrived now because everyone else made it saturated, like he still was doing it first, but also you could flip the coin immediately back around again and be like, but why? And I guess maybe that's kind of why I've stayed away from like Twin Peaks specifically, is because like I don't really get why it's super weird. Like I like super weird stuff that's super weird for reasons. Like that show just strikes me as trying to be like so artsy that it gets lost in being artsy. And again, I've never even seen it, so I am incredibly ignorant in having that feedback about it. But
yeah, no, I think you're spot on, and that's like how I feel about it. And yeah, it's a good point. Like when I was watching Razorhead, I was constantly trying to be like, no, man, this came out in 1977. Like, imagine being someone in 1977, like experiencing this. It'd be like nothing you've ever seen. It's super weird. But yeah, because we are so inundated now by like avant-garde shit and just weird stuff, it feels like a little contrived. But yeah, you got to remember, like, he was an originator of that.
Yeah.
I would add on that note, while we're on the film shit, rest in peace, William Hurt. I'm not sure if you guys saw that, but William Hurt passed away 2 nights ago.
Oh, I didn't see
that.
Yeah, William Hurt just passed.
Do you know how he died?
I do not know. I just saw a post of it, but he was reaching his elder age, so I'm sure it was just a medical condition that got the best of him. But that was a sad
he
one to see.
died yesterday. Wow.
Was it yesterday? Damn.
According, I mean,
yeah, March 13th.
Yeah, that would have been yesterday.
Oh, that's really
crazy.
Sad, man.
Yeah,
sad.
He's a goddamn legend.
He is a legend, but it is kind of almost more impactful when those like actors you consider like just below the stratosphere of like the ultra successful and ultra famous pass away. It's like, whoa, man. Yeah, like that's just someone I assumed would be in movies forever because like he just fits so well and such a great actor. And
you see him so often and he's so recognizable. Like his voice too, like you're just, oh, there's William Hurt. Like like it's everything. Yeah, I totally agree. Like what you said, where he's right below that like ultra tier, like S tier actor. But everyone's, 99% of film goers still know who that is. And it's just like, damn. He was close to the brink of just like crazy success. And he was a phenomenal actor without a doubt. But
he's only 72. He was born in 1950.
Young guy.
Or he was
relatively
just
young.
about to turn 72.
Relatively young. That's horrible.
Rest in peace, William Hurt. Also on the film trend, I'm embarrassed to say this. I wasn't going to bring it up, but since we're talking about it, I fell asleep in Batman Cam.
You saw it in the theaters, Colin?
Yeah, and I fell asleep.
Oh no.
Okay, so with that said, when did you see it, first of all? Was it Wednesday of last week? Thursday? Okay.
It was last week.
I'll take it you weren't the biggest fan then.
No. I had no chance. I had a super long day at work. I had to go into the office. I was like driving a bunch. We went to a late showing. I took an edible and I had a so I was trying to stay awake, and then I saw it with Julia. Julia dozed off for like a second next to me. And so I like looked over and saw her. She was like, oh, it sounds good to like close your eyes.
God damn it, Colin.
I did for a second. But then it was one of those bizarre viewing experiences where I must have woken up like 30 times throughout the movie. So I kept waking up and something crazy was going on screen. And I wasn't sure if I was actually asleep or what was happening. So
yeah, that half trance.
But I will definitely see it again at an earlier showing.
Based on what you saw, what did you think of the parts you saw?
Well, I will say the beginning, and this could have been because I was pretty stony from an edible. I don't know if this ever happens to you guys. It happens when I'm high. I can picture the people just being actors in front of a camera way too well. You know what I mean? Where like
they're doing their job, yeah.
You would think it'd be the opposite, where if you're stunned, you'd be able to be lost in the facade a little bit more. But like when I'm high, like just picturing like watching on the screen, like, man, there's just, I'm watching this through a camera, man. That's just some dude. That's not actually Inspector Gordon, man. Yeah, that's just some guy in a room, man. So I had trouble getting out of that at the beginning. But I imagine if I saw it in a more normal state of mind, that wouldn't have happened to me.
It's been a long time since I saw a movie in a theater that was like not Jackass 4.
Dude, Jackass 4 was great.
Yeah, it was truly great. But the one thought that I had was like, damn, they have made movie theater chairs so much more comfortable than they used to be. I could totally take a fucking nap right now, like while watching Steve-O get his balls lit on fire or whatever it is. Like, I don't know. That's the problem. They make them too comfortable.
Great point, Julian, because that was the other thing I meant to mention. I was in one of those theaters where like that was the shtick, that it was like really fancy plush leather recliners. So
Yeah.
I could go I was like literally pretty much laying vertical.
It's fucking crazy.
And
But you were at like one of the recliners, like the table that folds out. You can have like your popcorn right here on your like lap and shit. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
those are nice.
Those are so crazy.
So
Like,
I saw the Batman twice now in theaters. I saw it once with my buddy Colin, and then I won a raffle, and I got to see it again for $1, which is really cool. But after like having time to kind of process the movie and think about it, I would still say The Dark Knight is honestly quite superior to the Batman. But it's a good.
That was the problem, Cam. And I said that when you told me that you were like, it was up there with The Dark Knight for you.
It's up there.
Before I fell asleep, I was like consistently like, all right, how is this compared to the intro for The Dark Knight? Nope, not as good. Not as good. Not as good. The act is not as convincing.
Well, the intro to The Dark Knight is so good. And yeah, sorry to cut you off. What's that?
Oh no, I was just gonna say I would just take my opinion with a grain of salt right now because I did.
You're off the edible.
Yeah.
But Colin, you should know it'll be on stream. It'll be on HBO Max in like a week and a half.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see it again. And when the movie ended and I left, I felt very shameful and disappointed. I didn't see it.
Yeah.
I fell asleep. But
I saw a fun fact the other day. The Robert Pattinson got announced as the new Batman on like May 19th, 2019. So this Batman movie has been in the works for such a long time.
That's funny you say that, Cam, because a video popped up on my YouTube feed earlier that was titled "Christian Bale gives Robert Pattinson advice from playing Batman." It was from 2 years ago. I was expecting it to be from like 6 months, and I was like, "What?"
Yeah, dude, exactly. Was it the one where he said to get a zipper in the suit to take a piss out of?
Oh, I didn't actually watch it, but
okay.
That's a solid piece of advice.
Yeah,
yeah, that shit. I saw one, and he was like, I trust Pattinson's acting, and Christian Bale's British accent. He was like, I trust Pattinson's acting. He's a great actor, but get a zipper to take a piss out of your suit in. It's just like so funny.
Was his next piece of advice? Don't violently berate the crew when someone is filming also. I know that was from Terminator.
I wish someone would have told me that, so I'm telling you that now.
Yeah. One day when we're starring in films, when we make the Wax Romantics movie.
Fuck to the
I will. That's the only reason I'd ever become a movie star, would be to violently berate the crew. Anyways, you guys want to do album reviews now?
Perfect.
Okay. So I'm reviewing a Motley Crue album.
God damn.
I am actually. I'm reviewing Dr. Feelgood by Motley Crue. Because this we're gonna save the.
You're kidding.
No, I'm serious. I've been preparing this for a couple of days now.
Oh man.
We're saving the theme of pick an album you don't like for Keaton. This kind of fits that. Not really, but it's also just because Motley Crue has been in the zeitgeist and very present on my mind lately. So I'm doing Dr. Feelgood by Motley Crue, their 5th studio album, and their only album to reach #1 on the Billboard charts. Very interesting album. It was because this was released in '89, so they had already had a very long and storied career by this point. And so at this point, they had each been through rehab several times. They all wanted to kill each other. They fucking hate each other. They couldn't get along, but they still ended up producing a pretty successful album out of it. It was produced by Bob Rock, who, Julian, as a metalhead, does that name stand out to you? Yeah. He did a lot of work for Metallica. Side note, really quickly, I don't know. Have you guys seen Some Kind of Monster, the movie, the Metallica documentary?
I've not.
Oh my God, guys, you gotta watch one of the greatest rockumentaries, I guess you could call it, of all time. It's amazing.
You watch a lot more rockumentaries than I do.
Yeah.
I'm kind of jealous. I don't even know they exist, and then you hit me with them. I gotta write them down and shit.
Since I've been like a teenager, like the only books I've ever wanted to read, well, not that I ever, but I do read a lot of rock bios or autobios, and I watch a lot of rockumentaries. But Some Kind of Monster is definitely legendary. It's very Spinal Tap. But so anyways, Bob Rock is in that movie a lot, and Bob Rock produced this. I mentioned they hated each other during it. Bob Rock described them as 4 LA badasses who used to drink a bottle of wine and want to kill each other. So to minimize conflict, he had them record all the parts separately for the entire album. And, I won't go too much in the background of it. Like I said, it was hugely successful for Motley Crue at a time where everyone kind of thought it was the end of Motley Crue and all that stuff. And 1989 was definitely, this was their last big hurrah. A big in that Penn Tommy show is like that their career was kind of over at that point, that grunge was taking over and that no one took Motley Crue seriously. And Tommy Lee in the show like really struggles with it, all that stuff. But anyways, to get into the actual songs, it's the most, okay. I'm going to read the track listing real quick. TNT, which parentheses stands for Terror in Tinseltown. Then there's Dr. Feelgood, obviously the titular track. Slice of Your Pie, Rattlesnake Shake, Kickstart My Heart, Without You, Same Old Situation, parenthetical, SOS, Sticky Sweet, She Goes Down, Don't Go Away Mad, Time for Change. Okay, and I'm going to point out something right now that brings my review down at least 2 Waxys.
Ooh.
Drives me crazy. The first track, and dissing Motley Crue a little bit, I think this is kind of the extent of their deepness and artistry, that I think they probably thought like, oh man, let's have these acronyms that actually mean something, but let's make them stand for something else. Like, oh, TNT, dude, let's make that stand for Terror in Tinseltown. But that's not what bothers me.
Shouldn't that actually be TIT? Terror what? In Tinseltown? Terror in Tinseltown. That should be
N apostrophe N.
Oh, okay.
Which is also fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't come up with something else that could stand for TNT where you didn't have to purposefully misspell a word out of there. Even, apostrophe N is, I guess, is in the lexicon. But anyways, what drives me crazy is the first track is called TNT, parenthetical, Terror in Tinseltown. The 7th song is called Same Old Situation, parenthetical, SOS. In one song, they make the abbreviation the title and put what it stands for in the parentheses. And then 7th song, they make what it stands for, the actual title, and put the apostrophe in the parentheses. Are you guys following me on that?
Yeah, that's wildly inconsistent.
Isn't that fucked up?
That's stupid as shit.
It's fucking stupid.
Like, see, that's the thing. It's not like all you have to do is think about it for a second. You just have to look at it and be like, that looks weird. But nobody did.
No, I know. How many times were they looking at the track listing? Like, how many approvals did that have to go through? Anyways.
Clearly too few. Too few times.
Yeah. So Terror in Tinseltown is a stupid way to start off the album. In my opinion, it's kind of like, it's not an actual song. It's like a soundscape thing. Like they get samples from movies and stuff like that. And it's kind of, but I don't know. Maybe I haven't listened to it enough or carefully enough, but it doesn't like set up the mood of the record well enough for it to be. It's like they're like kind of starting off a concept album, but it doesn't end up being that way. Dr. Feelgood is probably my favorite song off the track. Slice of Your Pie is a weird song, and they kind of do like a Beatles-esque thing in it towards the end. Like it gets kind of like psychedelic and definitely sounds like they're trying to do a Beatles thing. I'll skip Rattlesnake Shake. That song's fucking stupid. Kickstart My Heart is definitely the most popular, well-known song off of this. And I think the funniest and most fascinating Motley Crue song, because it has the famous, the famous, kickstart my heart, where whatever he says.
It's just bad.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. It's all bad, honestly. But I will say, very well produced. Bob Rock is known for being a kind of meticulous producer, especially within the hard rock genre. And so well produced, it's sounds like something that would be huge in 1989. It's overproduced. At a surface level, sounds good. The songs are fun. It became, it was a number one album. So you can only strike it so much. Most of the songs are written by Nikki Sixx. I mean, Nikki Sixx has a writing credit on every single one of them. He's the only one in the band who has a writing credit on every single one of them. There's a few songs
That's impressive.
where all of them have writing credits on it. Yeah, it is impressive because I always think it's cool when the bass player is the sole writer for something. Because, not dissing the bass by any means, obviously, but just because like Nikki Sixx wasn't the singer or anything. And
I get to that.
Clearly like come up with those riffs on the bass and everything.
I'd make the analogy like for a QB in football calling the plays, every play at the line of scrimmage, like that's totally like a similar thing. Like if like the fucking running back walks up and I totally get that.
The only song where they all have writing credits is Rattlesnake Shake, and that song fucking sucks. I don't think Vince Neil and Tommy Lee should be allowed to have any part in writing songs, honestly.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, who lets Tommy Lee do things?
Hollywood, apparently. Sebastian Stan.
Yeah. Anyways, very interesting album. And yeah. But so anyways, my Waxy review is 6.5 out of 10.
Ooh, that might be your lowest one today.
Pretty
It definitely
generous.
is, yeah. Yeah, it was a little generous.
I thought you were gonna be like 4 or 5.
Yeah, they're still passing.
Yeah, I'll go 6.5 because I was like I said, when I read The Dirt, I went back and like gave the discography an honest listen, and this was an album like I did kind of admire, like I said, just for the production value. And I mean, like the songs are stupid and just cheesy, and they're Motley Crue songs, but there are good aspects of them for sure. And I think Nikki Sixx, if nothing else, was really good at recognizing what people wanted and kind of Motley Crue's context and everything. And I think he was good at writing towards that. So anyways, that's my review of Dr. Feelgood by Motley Crue.
Thank you.
I'll
for
hand
that.
the mic off now.
Julian, feel free.
Okay, sure. Mine's pretty quick, honestly, because there's not like too much like interesting factual behind the scenes stuff about this record. I just picked it because, literally, I picked it because the record itself is gorgeous, and you both already know that. And then I also picked it just because I went to the show literally last night. It's the first like post-COVID show I've been to that I've been like just hyped about for a while. And they're like a smaller band. Also proved to be somewhat relevant to this, I guess, just because they're also metal, but they're like brand new metal, kind of like a little bit more on the experimental side of metal and a little bit more on the noise side. So the band is called Sumac. This is the cover. Oh shit, it's blurred. But yeah, that's the cover.
In post.
Which is all designed by the lead guitarist Aaron Turner, who happens to be one of my favorite dudes of all time. That's the inside cover, and then the record itself is this super pretty like gold fleck, like creamy gold. It's like sparkly. It's just really pretty.
I'll put the picture you sent. I'll put the picture you sent in the Zoom. Cam, did you really think that'd be any better?
It looks like this light bulb.
Showing your phone.
It looks like this light bulb.
Oh my god.
But yeah, dude, it's a very good record. It's called May You Be Held, and it's by the band Sumac. It's very on like the noise metal side of things, and it's very much like post metal, if that even is a thing. I have trouble describing it just because it's pretty much entirely free of structure musically. It's largely based on improvisation. It's not the most like melodic music. There's not melodies to follow. There's not melodies that repeat. There's not really sections in general that repeat. It's just pretty much a straight up like journey from start to finish. And it's the most like unique listening experience I would say I've ever had when it comes to like just really, really heavy and like also emotional music. There's a lot of, like I said, very improvisational parts on all the Sumac songs, but the new album, it has a lot of just totally freeform improv where there's not any linear flow, and it's pretty much just entirely like stream of consciousness translated into instruments. It's fascinating. It's like I said, hard to describe in itself because, I mean, even the way I'm describing it now, if you went and listened to it, I bet you'd be like, well, this sounds totally different than what I was picturing. Aaron Turner, like I said, is just like one of my most influential people, I would say, like ever. He started in the band called ISIS, which started before the terror group started, just for
those ISIS fellas are real prats. They really hijack that.
I hate them. Anyway, so Aaron Turner was like influential in metal and like experimental metal for a long time, but this band was really his, I think, just full on embrace of like being as freeform as possible. And just when I saw it live, I've seen them live twice, but both times they've just been like really true to the recordings, which I think in a way makes it seem more like the recordings are incredibly intentional, because it seems like when you're listening to it, maybe it's not always super intentional. Some of the sounds are happening like by accident, or not even by accident, but they just happen unpredictably. But their ability to like recreate the same exact sounds live and like at the same time is crazy. And their musical communication skills are incredible. I'd say they're probably like that band, those three dudes are probably like the three of the best performers I've ever seen in my life, just because they're able to play a whole set with their eyes closed, never miss a single transition, play every single note like together, never late entrance, like, and when they go into full on improv sections, like they still start them together and end them together, and that all just goes back to incredible musical communication. So love the records. This record only has 5 songs on it, and like 3 of them, 2.5 of them are like pretty much just straight noise. But you know, it's all again very intentional. The 2 songs that I would say you should listen to if you're into anything along these lines are the songs May You Be Held and Consumed on this record. Just because they really do go the full exploration of the whole kind of mindset of where these guys are at, from like really raucous, insane, crazy metal to like really, really open, spacey, and sparse, somewhat like pseudo atonal jazz influenced. And yeah, I'm all about it. I would honestly give this record like probably an 8.5 out of 10 Waxys, just because, again, like I'm never gonna like listen to the noise tracks like in my car and be like, yeah, while it's just like, but the rest of it I will listen to like consistently probably for the rest of my life, and I'll always be like deeply impressed by it. Now you're
Reviewed.
That's cool, man.
Real quick, Cam, before you, I just want to say something real quick.
Yeah.
Great review, Julian. That's awesome you brought up, because Sumac has been something that's like it always pops up, and I'm like, oh, I gotta check that out. And just like I said when you reviewed Thrice, Julian, I've always had Thrice like in the background, like, oh, Thrice, that's a cool band to like. I gotta get into that. That's how Aaron Turner has been for me too. Like, oh, Aaron Turner, like very cool kind of DIY musician guy, like very cool. I gotta get into Aaron Turner.
Yeah.
So I'll definitely check that album out.
I think that's a huge part of the reason why, sorry to interrupt, but just
no, go ahead.
Huge part of the reason why I love Aaron Turner is because of his DIY roots, and like he's always stayed true to like his vision. I feel like he's never really not done exactly what he wanted to do unapologetically, and also he's very universal in his message. Like he doesn't exclude anybody in any of the messaging behind his music, and it's always been that way. I think like it's always just been about, hey, how can we make this type of music that we're trying to play the best that we possibly can and bring it back to everybody in like the most professional way. When I bought these records last night, like the Venmo or like the Square charge in my bank account literally said like, Aaron Turner's bank account, like, it's that DIY. And I feel way better at the end of the day giving my money to like those types of people, and like knowing that, I don't know, their musical pursuit is like the most inspiring like payoff, I feel like, for musicians like myself. And to just be able to like know that I can give directly back to that feels awesome. And all musicians, big and small, deserve like to make money off of their art and their hard work, but these dudes especially, they're just honest and like they're full of integrity.
Yeah, well said. Yeah,
awesome,
it's just
man.
cool in a world that's constantly becoming corporatized and devoid of, stuff like that people are still out there doing it successfully too in a cool way. So awesome review. I'll check that album out for sure.
They're good reviews, Julian.
Cam, go ahead, baby.
So I kind of wanted to take advantage of like the random album review, kind of non-themeless one, and split my album review into two parts. So I'm going to kind of quickly breeze through my legit album review, and then I kind of do like a more fun thing to close us out. But so I recently really gotten into, kudos actually to a show that I really love, and I'll mention the show in a little bit, but I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Vashti Bunyan. Are you guys at all?
No.
So she was an artist that was a real advocate for kind of justice and women's rights and the kind of movement of the 60s and 70s. I would call it hippie movement that's now obviously grown into something way more legitimate than that. Not to illegitimize hippie movement, of course, but something that's actually like very beautiful. And so she released a lot of singles and demos throughout the 60s and early 70s that were really meant to kind of speak to that area of the climate of the time. But the album reviewing actually didn't come out until 2007, and it's Some Things Just Stick in Your Mind by Vashti Bunyan, and it's in parentheses after Some Things Just Stick in Your Mind. It's singles and demos from 64 to 67, from 1964 to 1967. And there's one song in particular, it's called Train Song, and it's quickly become like in my top 5, definitely not number 5 of my all-time favorite songs. Like it is just so beautiful, and you'd be amazed. Like I hope you listen to it after the podcast, but you'd be amazed to learn it was recorded in 1965. Like it sounds it's a timeless piece. And like to think it was recorded back then, she was way ahead of her time musically. And I think the reason that Vashti decided to release the song and compose all these different singles and demos and release it in 2007 was that her music and genre didn't really catch on until later in life. I think it was kind of taken for granted almost, maybe just not very popular back then. But nowadays, like, dude, you'd be amazed. Like, I was listening to it and I didn't know it was recorded back in the fucking 60s, but I would guess it was recorded in like, honestly, like 2011, early 2000s. And I was like, it's just such a good song, but Train Song. And the show that I learned Train Song from is, I'm not sure, Colin, you might have seen it. Maybe you too, Julian, but do you guys know the show Patriot? Not the movie, the show Patriot. Michael Dorman show.
No, but you had brought it up on here before.
Okay, so that's the show, and the show itself is an amazing show. I recommend the show, but just the song, Train Song, it is the theme song to the show. Dude, it is so great, and like it just makes me feel a certain kind of way. I really wanted to bring it on here. But yeah, Vashti Bunyan, she's an incredible artist and like a super influential woman. And what she did for the time and still continues to do, because she still performs live to this day, it's just fucking remarkable. Like it's the coolest thing. But I would definitely recommend it. She uses she's able to harmonize her voice in a way that sounds really modern. It sounds really, it's catchy in a way that sounds like something that modern artists would try to replicate. But she did it, obviously 50, 60 years ago. And it's like, Jesus Christ, like it's just so impressive. But yeah, definitely check out Some Things Just Stick in Your Mind by Vashti Bunyan. An incredible piece.
All right. Is that a podcast?
I guess that's like 2 podcasts.
I think we fulfilled our contractual obligations.
Yeah.
Great podcast, guys.
Yeah, not bad.
Podcast is
a weird word.
It is.
Why is it called
Where's
that?
pod come from?
Do you guys know that the first podcast ever was a Grateful Dead song?
I did know that somehow. I'm not sure from where.
I think it was US Blues. And really the only thing that makes a podcast is like the protocol of which it's distributed through, like something to do with RSS type stuff, I think. And so like when that infrastructure was built or whatever on the web, there was some DJ guy who was hip to it at the time who tested it out for the first time ever with a Grateful Dead song. And that's another way Grateful Dead is the most innovative band to have ever lived.
Podcast is a combination of the word iPod and broadcast. That's why it's called that.
Yeah, that actually rings a bell now. I think I heard that.
That's pretty weak. Nobody even uses iPods anymore.
That's pretty weak. All right. And that's how we end this 8th episode of the Waxy Wednesdays podcast.
Nice, boys.
Hell yeah, boys.
All right. I love you guys.
Love
Peace
y'all.
to Keat and...
I'm sorry, real quick, guys. I guess it's the end of the podcast. But Julian, I'm drawing a blank. You went to Rocky, correct?
I did.
Did you ever take Mr. Williams?
I did.
I just ran into Williams yesterday. I was hiking Arthur's Rock and I bumped into him. And Colin, he wanted me to tell you hello next time I got a hold of you. So Williams says hi to you.
Cool. Of course.
He didn't. So he didn't know who I was.
Julian, I must admit, you did not come up in conversation. But next time, if I do see him, I'll make sure I'm like, Julian Ferrara.
You're like, hey, do you know Julian Ferrara?
Julian, I'm sure he loves you, man.
Nah, I had him for like a pre-AP World Lit, I think, sophomore year. And that was one of my favorite classes. He always had the lights off. But I remember specifically, like, we were supposed to read The Old Man and the Sea, and I just did not fucking read that book. And then like it came to the discussions and the posts and the essay and everything, and I like wrote all the shit and had all the discussions and bullshitted my way through it. And I somehow made it. I got I didn't even do Spark Notes. I just bullshitted off of what everyone else was saying. Someone be like, yeah, the fish is a metaphor, and then I'd be like, yeah, I totally think that too. And then I wrote the whole
metaphor
paper
for the unconscious mind, man. That's to say, I said, if I want to read a book by some wife abusing drunk, I'll just read my diary entries from last night.
Fuck yeah.
Cool.
Oh man, that's
podcast.
a pod.
Podcast.
That's
Podcast.
On that note, have a good night, boys.
Yeah,
Yep.
later.
All right, love you guys. Peace out.
Adios, boys. Have a good one.
Bye.
Waxy Wednesdays with Wax Romantics.